Begin today the Gemara on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis, the last two lines of the page where it says Toshema. The Gemara here brought an Ibaya. Rava asks an Ibaya. This is the sugi of Tzreitis, where the halacha regarding Tzreitis is if an animal doesn't trample directly with his feet and break, rather it kicks pebbles and then the pebbles go and break something. So there's a machlokes between Sumchis and the Rabbanon. Sumchis say that you pay full pay just like when the behemoth trampled with its feet. The Rabbanon, however, say that you pay chatzi nezek, and this is halacha l'Moshe Misinai, that if it's not done with the body of the animal, only with the koyach of the animal, you pay only half pay. Now the shaila is, what happens if the animal stepped on a keli and it did not break it, and then that keli went and rolled, and then from the impact on the ground, it broke? Is this in the category of tzreitis, which is only a damage that's a secondary damage, not directly with the body of the animal? Or is it a damage which is directly from the body of the animal? And what's the shaila over here? So the Gemara says the shaila is, because in this case, it wasn't a pebble that broke this vessel. The foot of the animal did kick this keli directly. However, it didn't break right away. It just kicked it and it flew, and then from the impact later on the ground, then it broke. So do I look at the beginning of how this damage happened? There was a direct contact with the body of the animal. Or do I look at how it broke in the end? The way it broke in the end is, it was from the impact on the ground and not from the actual body of the animal, and therefore would have the halacha of tzreitis, and you only pay half a pay. That was a shaila of the Gemara. So the Gemara here is going to try to bring a few eyes to this. Toshema, there's a brayso that says hidus. This is the chickens that are hopping around, jumping around. Ein amud. A chicken is not muad, it's not expected, it's not something normal that the chicken does. So therefore you're not chayav for this nezik shalem. V'yesh imrim, another opinion is, hareza muad, no, this is normal for the chicken to do this, and therefore you are chayav nezik shalem. So what is the pshat in this machlokes here? Fragt the Gemara, na hidus solke daitoch. Are they arguing about whether a chicken jumps and hops around? We know that that's the nature of a chicken. Elolav, don't you think the shaila over here, the machlokes over here is as follows: hidus v'hitis. What happened is the chicken was jumping around, and because of this, with its feet, it pushed a keli, it pushed a vessel, and then that vessel broke later. The exact case that our Iboya was about. And the argument in this brayse is as follows: the marsovar basamei karas linan. The opinion that says that it's a muad is saying that you follow the way the contact of the feet of the chicken was in the beginning. The feet of the chicken pushed and touched the actual vessel that broke. So therefore, because it kicked it directly, so you have to pay full pay. But the first opinion that says that you're not a muad, that you only pay half, is because he says, no, basatova monas linan. You follow the way the keli actually broke in the end. In the end, when it broke, it didn't break from the feet of the chicken, but it's because it rolled and then it hit the ground. That's when it broke, and therefore you only pay half a pay for that, because that's like tzreitis. So then this would be, so we have a brayse that argues about this. So the Gemara says, that's not necessarily the pshat on this brayse. We can say, v'hitis tzreitis. When it says over here that there's hidus, that this chicken is jumping around, what it's talking about is that the chicken was jumping around, and therefore pebbles went flying, and those pebbles went and broke a vessel. And therefore, beplukte the sumchis v'rabbanan kemiflagi. And the argument in this brayse is the same argument as I mentioned in the beginning regarding tzreitis. Anytime a chicken or an animal kicks a pebble and the pebble breaks the vessel, there's an argument between sumchis and the rabbanan whether you pay nezek shalem or the rabbanan say you pay chatzi nezek. That's the argument in this brayse. Another brayse says the Gemara Toshema. The brayse says Tarnagoylin shahayu mechatitim bechevel. This was a brayse quoted before actually. The Tarnagoylim, chickens that were pecking at the rope a rope that had in it the chevel deli, that had in it a deli. How do they translate deli over there?
Rope of a bucket.
The rope of a bucket, yeah. And then v'nifsak chevel. What happened is the rope snapped and v'nishbar adli, so the bucket fell and broke. So what does it say? Mishalmin nezek shalem. So you pay a full damage. So what happened over here? Where was the contact of the body of the chicken? It went and it was pecking at the rope. But then when it pecked at the rope, it didn't break the bucket right away. Later it caused the bucket to roll down. and the bucket then broke. And what does it say? That you pay nezek shalim, you pay full damage. So what do you see from this? Shma mino, I could prove from here. Basame kara azlinon, that you follow the contact of the chicken that was pecking at the rope, and over there was directly from the body of the chicken, and therefore that caused the bucket to roll and break. So even though in the end the bucket only rolled and broke from the impact on the ground, but because in the beginning it was caused by the chicken directly pecking at the rope, so you chayav nezek shalim. So from here you see that in such a kind of case, similar when a chicken kicks something and then it rolls down later, that you pay nezek shalim. So the Gemara answers, Tergema achevel. No, you have to understand the Braisa there when it says that you pay full pay. You don't have to pay full pay for the actual bucket itself that broke. You pay full pay for the rope that it snapped, that it ripped by pecking at it. Over there, that mamish did with its body directly. In fact, the Gemara, but why would you have to pay full pay for that? A chicken trying to eat a rope, that's something which is very unusual. So this should be a tilde of keren. We only pay half for that as well. The chicken is looking for food. It's not looking to eat from a rope usually. Answers the Gemara, no, we can say what happened over here is the ma's belisha. This rope was disgusting. It was dirty with dough that was kneaded over there, and therefore the chicken was attracted to it because of the dough. So the fact that it was pecking at this rope is considered to be normal, and you have to pay the full pay. But the Gemara doesn't accept this pshat in the Braisa because v'ha nishbar delikatani. The Braisa clearly says what happened was the bucket then rolled and the bucket broke. So when it says you pay nezek shalim, it's not talking about the rope that snapped. It's talking about paying for the actual bucket. So it says the Gemara, Elo sumchasi. We can say that this Braisa that says you pay nezek shalim, even if you're going to say that this is tzreiris, and you do say that because the bucket rolled away and only broke later, it is considered to be tzreiris, and it's not, we don't go after the beginning of the contact of the chicken to the rope, but we look at what happened at the end, and it is tzreiris. So why do you pay nezek shalim? I can say that this follows the opinion of Sumchis. The Amad tzreiris nezek shalim mishalim. Sumchis' opinion is that you always pay, even for tzreiris, full pay. The Gemara doesn't accept this pshat either because is sumches, if this Braisa here follows Sumches' opinion, but aim is safe. What does it say in the continuation of that Braisa? Nites mimenu shever. If now this bucket that broke, so if it flew out, a piece of this broken bucket flew out, v'nafal al kliacher, and it fell and it broke a second vessel, v'shavra, it broke it. So what's the halacha? Says the Braisa, al rishayin, on the first vessel, on the bucket that fell, mishalim nezek shalim. For that you pay full pay. V'ala achrayin, and now a piece of a bucket that broke a second vessel, mishalim chatzi nezek. For that you pay half a pay. Now what's the distinction between the first and the second vessel? V'is sumches, if you're going to say that this Braisa is Sumches' opinion that holds that you always pay nezek shalim, whether it's directly from the animal or it's tzreiris. So if so, mi islay chatzi nezek. Does Sumchis hold when something happens indirectly from the animal? It's only the koyach of the animal. So would Sumchis say that you can make this distinction between the first vessel and the second vessel, that for the second vessel that broke, you only pay half a pay? This whole distinction is based on this concept of tzreiris, that the direct damage you pay nezek shalem, but then the indirect damage, which is like a pebble that flew, then you pay chatzi nezek. So this Braisa that's making this distinction cannot be Sumchis. Says the Gemara, but maybe we could explain this as follows, even according to Sumchis. If you'll argue and say that maybe Shani Leila Sumchis, even Sumchis, that says that an animal that damages directly with its body, and the animal that damages indirectly by kicking a pebble or by some broken piece then breaking. But even according to Sumches, there is still a difference between nezek kaychay, when an animal damages with a kayach, meaning not with its body, but with a pebble that came from its kayach, lekayach kaychay, to not only something which is coming from its kayach, but then a kayach of its kayach. Maybe that's the distinction. So over here, what happened over here? The animal was pecking at the rope, and then that caused the bucket to fall. So that's already not directly from the chicken. That's koyach. And then that bucket that fell broke, and it broke another vessel. So that's koyach koychay. It's 2 times removed from the body of the animal. So maybe over here, Sumchus would agree that for the second vessel you pay nezek shalim. Says the Gemara, if this is the pshat in this brayse, so then ve'elo. If so, the boy Rav Ashi. This shaila Rav Ashi actually spoke about. And we're going to learn about this on Daf Yutes. And he asked the shaila, koyach koychay l'sumchis. According to sumchis, that says that by tzroidis, which is the koyach that the animal caused to damage, over there you pay nezek shalim. But if it's koyach koychay, if that pebble breaks a keli, and then the keli then goes ahead and breaks yet another keli. So according to Sumchis, so Rav Ashi asked the shaila, do I say kekoiche dami? It's just like the first pebble that broke and you pay nezek shalim, or lav kekoiche dami? Or it's not like the first koyach of the pebble that broke, and therefore for this secondary koyach, you only pay chatzi nezek. This is the shaila Rav Ashi asked about Sumchis' opinion. Now, Tifshet Lei, according to the pshat that we say here in this brayse, we could answer this from this brayse, the lav k'koychay dami, that the secondary koyach is not like the first koyach. That's the case over here. There's the rope, there's the first keli, which is the dli, the bucket, and then another keli that broke. And over here it says that Sumchis is saying that you pay chatzi nezek. So therefore the Gemara goes back to the pshat we said before. Elalav Rabbanani. We must say that this brayse follows the opinion of the Rabbanon that hold that by tzroidis you pay chatzi nezek. So why over here, when the bucket fell and broke, are you paying for it nezek shalim? If it's only a secondary damage. So the answer is, we go back to the original proof. Vishmami no, we can prove from here, Basame karas linon, that this case is not like tzroidis. Because in the case of tzroidis, there was no original contact with the body of the animal like it is in this case of pecking. The chicken is pecking at the rope. So over here, as it's pecking at the rope, it causes directly the dli to fall. And therefore, if you look at what it did at the beginning, it's not tzroidis, it's a direct damage that the chicken is causing, even though later the impact of when it fell on the ground and a roll, that's what broke the keli, but you follow meikara. So we go back to our original raya that we can prove from here that in such a case you pay nezek shalim. So the Gemara says, Omar of Beve bar Abaye, that you can answer and say that we misunderstood b'chlal what the case of this brayse is. What happened over here is the chicken was pecking at the rope, but then when this bucket fell, the ka'azl mineyu minei, the chicken then went and pushed this bucket and it continued pushing it until it broke. It didn't just roll itself and then broke, but the chicken itself went and pushed it until it broke. And that's why you pay nezek shalim for the bucket itself, because it was done by the body of the chicken itself. So it's b'chlal not a raya to the case that we're talking about. Okay, so the Gemara never resolves this shaila that it asked over here. Gemara goes on to another ibaya. Rav asked another shaila regarding the din of tzroidis. Chatzi nezek tzroidis. So this halacha that when the animal kicks pebbles and the pebbles breaks a vessel, so you only pay a half a damage. But the shaila is, how is this pay done? Migufay mishalim. Do you pay only from the value of the body of the animal that caused this damage? Or no, you don't collect the payment just from the value of the body of the animal. You get paid from the best of the possessions or of the money or of the properties of the mazik. So the Gemara explains what's the basis of this shaila. Migufay mishalim, do you say that you collect the pay only from the body of the animal that caused the damage? Yeah, right. You collect the damage, and if it would be a chicken, you collect it from the chicken or whatever animal it may be. Why would you collect only from its guf? Because the loy ashkechon chatzi nezek the mishalem aliyah. Min ha'teireh, we don't find a payment of chatzi nezek, which is usually by keren. By keren, which is a tam, you pay the first 3 times chatzi nezek, and over there we don't find that you pay me'aliyah. You don't find that you have to pay from the best. What's the halacha of a tam? A tam, the first 3 times, you only pay the payment from the value of the body of the animal itself that damaged. So maybe over here, since there's a halacha l'moshe misinai that says that you pay half for tzroidis, maybe part of that halacha l'moshe misinai is that you have to only pay from the value of that body of the animal itself. Or perhaps we could say me'aliyah mishalim, that no, over here you do pay from the money that you have, from the best of your properties. You don't just pay from the body of the animal. The mishalim yigufe. We never find a damage which was done by the animal doing something in its ordinary behavior that you would have to pay only from the body of the animal. Once the animal is mazik, whether it's shein, viregel, all kinds of damages that an animal does, which is its ordinary behavior, so you always have to pay from the best of your properties, from the best of the possessions you have. So maybe over here, even though the halacha l'moshe misinai says you only pay half, but nevertheless the halacha that you have to pay from the best of what you have still remains. So again, the Gemara tries to bring a raya to this from different braises here. At first, it brings the first brisa we quoted today. Toshema hidus ein a muad. So the brisa says a chicken that's dancing around, it's not a muad when it damages this way. Another opinion is hareze muad. No, it is a muad. Now, what exactly is the argument here? Hidus solkedaitach. Are they arguing whether it's normal for a chicken to jump around or not? It's obviously normal for a chicken to behave this way. That can't be the pshat. Elalav, don't you think that the machlokes here is hidos v'hitis, that the chicken was jumping around and it caused a pebble to fly, and that pebble broke something. So this is the case of tzreiris. Bava Kama miflagi, and they're arguing in this hibaya of Rava. The opinion that says in the brayse here that the animal is that the chicken that is not a muad. What does he mean to say? What he's saying not a muad means kasava migufa mishalim. What he's trying to tell you is you pay chatzi nezek. And not only do you pay half, but you also pay like a keren, which is a tam, and you only pay from the body of the chicken itself. The opinion says that it is muad. What he's trying to say is, even though you only pay chatzi nezek because it's tzreiris, but nevertheless, it's not like keren, where you pay from the body, but you pay from the best of what you have. That's the pshat in this machlokes here. So the Gemara again answers and says, there's no raya from this loy. Beplukte the sumches v'rabbanan kamiflagi. This is taka a case of tzreiris, and the argument is the argument of sumches and the rabbanan. Whether tzreiris you pay chatzi nezek or you pay nezek shalim. Toshema, the Gemara brings a raya from another brayse. Hakelev shenotel charara. A dog took a charara, let's say a loaf of bread that was sitting in an oven, on the coals in the oven, and v'holach legodish. And the dog took this bread together with coals, and the loaf of bread it ate, but then the coals that the dog took with it, the hidlikas hagadish, it then dropped these coals onto onto this gadish, onto this pile of wheat, of grain that there is in someone's property. So what's going to be the halacha? What do you have to pay for this damage that your dog just did here? So Allah charara, regarding this loaf of bread that the dog went and ate up, mishalam nezek shalim, that you pay full pay. This is the nezek of shame. Your dog went into someone's property and ate up his loaf of bread. So that's the hezek of shame that you pay full pay. Now, v'ala godish, this that the dog went and threw a coal into this pile of grain, mishalem chatzi nezek. For this, you pay only half a pay. Now, why do you pay only half a pay? My timer, what's the distinction? Why regarding this? You burnt this person's godish. Why do you pay only half? Isn't it? Because this is an example of tzreiris. Because the loaf that it ate, the animal is damaging with its body. It's chewing, it's eating with its teeth. That's the hezek of shame that you pay full damage. But this coal that it took along with it and it threw it into the pile of grain, so that's not something that it's damaging directly with its body. That's like when an animal kicks pebbles with its feet and it causes a damage indirectly. It threw the coal into the pile and it burnt it. So for that's tzreiris. You only pay half pay. That's the pshat in this brayse. Now, the Tani Allah, on this we learned that it explains this payment of chatzi nezek here regarding the pile of grain, that mishalem chatzi nezek migufay, that you only pay chatzi nezek, and the payment of the chatzi nezek is collected from where? From the body of the value of the body of the dog itself. You don't collect it from the best of from minaliyah, from what the mazik owns, but you collect it from the body of the animal itself. So here you see clearly that this brayse says that chatzi nezek tzreiris is collected from the body of the animal itself. So the Gemara asks on this and says, no, this can't be the pshat of here, because v'tizbere, is this a good explanation? Rabbi Lazar. Now over there, Rabbi Lazar argues on this, and that brayse, Rabbi Lazar says nezek shalim. Rabbi Lazar there holds that you pay nezek shalem not only for the loaf of bread that it ate, you also pay nezek shalem for the pile of grain that it burnt with the coal that it threw there. And so according to Rabbi Lazar, that you say that you pay nezek shalem mi gufe mi ashkechan, is it possible to say that according to Rabbi Lazar, you would have to pay nezek shalem, and that collection of nezek shalem comes from where? Only from the body of the dog itself that was mazik? Do we ever find such a kind of thing? So Rashi here explains that Rabbi Lazar and that brayse that argues, the pshat would simply be, why is he arguing? So the simple pshat would be, Rabbi Lazar is arguing regarding tzreiris. Just like we brought before, there's an argument between Sumchis and the Rabbanon, whether for Tzreiris you pay Chatzi Nezek or you pay Nezek Shalim. So over here, this is an example of Tzreiris, the animal throwing the coal onto the pile of grain. So the Braise, the Tana Kama and the Braise says you pay Chatzi Nezek, and Rabbi Lazar holds like Sumchis, that you pay Nezek Shalim. So the whole entire Yibaya of Rava, that there should be a Svara to say that you pay Chatzi Nezek Tzreiris, Migufai, that's all only according to the Rabbanon. That says that you pay Chatzi Nezek. So maybe it's similar to Keren, where you collect that Chatzi Nezek Migufay. But Rabbi Lazar, if Rabbi Lazar holds you pay Nezek Shalem, like Sumchis, according to Sumchis, there is no reason to say that you would pay Migufay. You pay Nezek Shalem, you have to pay full pay from the best of what you have. So how can you say that this is the explanation over there in Rabbi Lazar's opinion? So basically, we now have a problem over here. How do we explain the pshat on that brisa? There's a machlokes between the Rabbanon and Rabbi Lazar there, whether you pay nezek shalem or you pay chatzi nezek. But according to both opinions, the payment comes migufay only from the body of this dog itself that damaged. Why is that? Hello. So the Gemara says, what are you going to have to explain? That case is different. It's not the regular kind of tzreiris. Kagain the shani baha gacheles. You're going to have to say the way this dog took this coal and then threw it into this pile, it's not a regular case of tzreiris. Usually, tzreiris is what? It's a tilde of regel, because it's the regular, ordinary behavior of the animal that as it walks along, it kicks pebbles. But over here, what it's talking about is that the animal, the dog, took this coal in its mouth, Rashi says, let's say. It took it in an unusual manner. So because it did what it did in a very wild and unusual manner, it's not a tilde of regel. It's not the regular tzreiris. This is a tilde of keren. Okay, so if it's a tilde of keren, so over here it has a different halacha. So the Gemara explains, so why would you pay nezek shalim? Now the fact that the Tana Kama says that when you burn down this person's pile of wheat, you pay chatzi nezek, the reason is not only because it's tzreiris. The reason is because it's a tilde of keren. It did something which is unusual. Now why does Rabbi Lazar hold though that you pay nezek shalim? So Rabbi Lazar Savala Rab Tarfon, because Rabbi Lazar holds like Rab Tarfon's opinion, which we brought already a few times. What does Rab Tarfon say regarding Keren? The Amar, he says, Mishuna Keren b'chotzer anizik, that Keren has a different halacha in the Rishus HaRabim, and has a different halacha when it's done in someone's private property. That in the private property, nezek shalom shalom, you do pay nezek shalom. Even though Keren always pays chatzi nezek, but if it's done in someone's private property, you do pay nezek shalom. So that's basically the machlokes here between the Tana Kama and Rabbi Lazar. The Tana Kama says that when you damage in an unusual manner, which is a tilde of keren, whether it's in the Rishus HaRabim, whether it's Rishus HaNizik, you pay chatzi nezek. So you pay for this godish that was burned chatzi nezek. And Rabbi Lazar holds like Rab Tarfon, that when it's done in the Rishus HaNizik, in someone's private property, you pay nezek shalem. Oh, 1 second. Oh, so the Gemara asks on this, Veloihi. And veloihi, but this is not a good pshat. Why not? My time and Mike Rab Tarfon. Why are you explaining that Rabbi Lazar is following Rab Tarfon's opinion? Mishum nezek shalem. That's because of nezek shalem. Rabbi Lazar salva kesumches. Rabbi Lazar holds. You can say no that Rabbi Lazar really here. So here the Gemara argues and on this and explains. Okay, so 1 second before I go weiter in the Gemara. This halacha, just to answer the question that you asked, that the Gemara wanted to explain, that Rabbi Lazar goes like Rab Tarfon, that says that in the Rishus HaNizik you pay nezek shalim, right? But even if you pay nezek shalim in the Rishus HaNizik, but you still only pay migufay. Rab Tarfon is not saying that it doesn't have the halacha of keren completely. It still has the halacha of keren that you pay migufay. The Gemara is going to address it soon. We'll see on Amid Beis. So, but the Gemara says this is not veloihi. Let's read again the Gemara over here. Veloihi. This is not necessarily the pshat in the machlokes of the Tana Kama and Rab Tarfon and Rabbi Lazar. That is whether we follow Rab Tarfon's opinion that in the Rishus HaNizik you pay nezek shalim or not. Because my time and Mike Misal Rab Tarfon Mishum Nezek Shalem. Why are you saying that Rabbi Lazar holds like Rab Tarfon? Because you're trying to explain why, according to Rabbi Lazar, you pay Nezek Shalem here. I can go back to the previous pshat that we said. Rabbi Lazar Savar Kesumchis. Rabbi Lazar holds like Sumchis, the Omat Tzreiris, Nezek Shalem Mishalem, that this is a regular case of Tzreiris. And for Tzreiris, he holds like Sumchis that you pay Nezek Shalem. What was our question? If so, if it's a regular case of tzreiris, why would you pay migufay? You never find that you pay migufay from the body of the animal that caused the damage if it's a case of tzreiris. Says the Gemara, B'savala Rab Yehuda, There's another idea here. This is the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says, the Omar tzad tamos b'mekayma emedes. What does this concept mean? The part of Tamas b'mekayma emedes, or Rashi brings, this is a Gemara later in the Masechta, we'll learn about it. So this means, Rabbi Yehuda holds a very interesting thing. We know that the keren, the first 3 times, pays chatzi nezek, and you collect the payment only from the body of the animal itself. After 3 times, you pay nezek shalem. You have to pay full pay. But Rabbi Yehuda holds, when you pay nezek shalem, the first half, the chatzi nezek, you still collect migufay. That you still do collect only from the body of the animal. It's only the second half that you have to pay, which you're paying now nezek shalem, that you pay minaliyah. That you have to pay from the best of what you have. So since Rabbi Yehuda holds this concept, that you could say, even regarding nezek shalem, that there's still the first half of your pay that you take migufay tzad tamus. That part of the payment of tamus remains in its place, that you still pay it migufay. So the Gemara now wants to apply this concept over here to chatzi nezek tzreiris. That is the machlokes whether chatzi nezek pays, whether by tzreiris you pay chatzi nezek or by tzreiris you pay nezek shalem. But even if you pay nezek shalem, Sumchis holds that you pay nezek shalem, but he doesn't completely argue with the Rabbanon that say that tzreiris is an unusual kind of a pay. He will agree to the Rabbanon that you still pay migufay. It's similar, at least half of the payment, that is. Half of that payment you pay migufay, similar to what you find according to the opinion of Rabbi Yehuda, that after a keren becomes a mu'ed, half of it you pay migufay. So that would be the pshat over here in the Braisa. So we're basically going back to the previous pshat, that this is a regular case of tzreiris. So when Rabbi Elazar over here says that when you pay nezek shalem, so you still only collect the payment from the guf of the animal, atzat tamos. He doesn't mean the full payment. He means half of that full payment will be from the body of the animal itself. But the Gemara doesn't accept this pshat. How could you make this comparison? When do we find such a concept? That when you pay full pay, half of that pay you're still only collecting from the body of the animal itself. When did Rabbi Yehuda say that? Betam v'nasamud. That's only if this animal first was a tam, and you had to pay chatzi nezek from the body, and then it became a muad. Even when it becomes a muad and you pay full pay, half of it still comes from the body of the animal itself. But b'muad mitchilasai. Over here, though, we're talking about this dog that damaged, and it's a muad right from the beginning, because we're going here according to Sumchis that says that for tzreiris, you're a muad from the beginning. You have to pay nezek shalem the first time. Did Rav Yehuda ever say such a thing, that you pay from the body of the dog itself, and you're going to pay nezek shalem from its body? There's no such a thing. So the question comes back: if we're going to say that this is the case over here of tzreiris, why would Rabbi Elazar say that you pay megufay? Okay, so if so, you have to go back to the previous pshat that the Gemara said before, that we're talking over here not about a regular tzreiris, we're talking over here about a tzreiris that was done in an unusual manner, and therefore it's a tilde of keren. Okay, but the Gemara says elo. So elo, no, the Gemara now says not necessarily. There's a third oifin how we could explain over here the pshat in this braisa. Again, what we're trying to figure out is the machlokes of the Bava Kama and Rabbi Elazar, whether you pay chatzi nezek or nezek shalem when the dog took this coal and put it into someone's pile of grain. But they both the Bava Kama and Rabbi Elazar say that you pay migufay. The collection comes only from the body of the dog itself. But yet they're arguing whether you pay nezek shalem or chatzi nezek. So the Gemara now suggests and says, no, we can say that there's another way how to explain this machlokes, and it could even be talking about an ordinary tzreiris, and still you collect migufay, because ki kam Rabbi Elazar nezek shalem. When Rabbi Elazar over here came and said that you pay nezek shalem, what did Rabbi Elazar mean to say? Kagoin the iyayid. What happened over here is this is something that the dog did the third time. And this is what they're arguing about. Mar Savar, the Bava Kama holds, or Mar Savar actually goes on Rabbi Elazar actually. So Mar Savar, Rabbi Elazar holds Yesh Hadol Tzreiris. Even though by Tzreiris, the Halach L'Mishum Misina says that you only pay Chatzi Nezek, that's when it does it the first 3 times. But once it does it more than 3 times, then even by Tzreiris, you're going to pay Nezek Shalim. Just like, in other words, what this, according to this opinion, just like by Keren, the Torah says that the first 3 times you pay Chatzi Nezek, and then you pay Nezek Shalem. Tzreiris works the same way. The halacha l'Moshe Messina of Tzreiris was that Tzreiris should be similar to Tam by Keren. The first 3 times you pay Chatzi Nezek, and then afterwards you pay Nezek Shalem. And that's what Rabbi Loza was saying over here, that you pay Nezek Shalem. And when he said Migufay, what does Migufay mean? Half of the payment comes Migufay. Because before there was Chatzi Nezek, and now because it became a mu'ed, so you pay Nezek Shalem, but the first half of the payment, like Rabbi Yehuda's opinion, before remains b'mekayma, that half you still pay Migufay. But Amar Sova, that Bava Kama holds, Ein Hadol L'Tzreiris. This concept of Hadol, that after 3 times you pay Nezek Shalem, does not exist by Tzreiris. Tzreiris, you always pay Chatzi Nezek as many times as the animal does this. That would be the machlokes over here. So according to this, what does it come out? What is the Gemara trying to say with all of this? We're talking that this is one pshat in Rashi. There's actually 2 pshatim in Rashi here, but this is one pshat in Rashi. The second pshat in Rashi, actually, and Taisus learns like this as well. That the Gemara now is explaining that this machlokes of Rabbi Loza and the Bava Kama is talking about regular tzreiris. And we can prove from here that the payment by regular tzreiris comes migufay, comes from the body, only from the body of the dog itself in this case. And what is the argument between the Bava Kama and Rabbi Loza whether you pay Nezek Shalom or Chatzi Nezek? When the dog did it after 3 times, do you say that it becomes a mu'ed, or do you say no, that you still pay Chatzi Nezek? That would be the pshat over here. So we could prove that you pay migufay. But the Gemara says, if this is the pshat in this braise, so Ella, Hada Boya Rava, this, that Rava had an Iboya about this exact subject. Yesh Hadol Etzreiris. Do we apply the concept of Hadol, that after 3 times you pay Nezek Shalom? Do we apply that to Tzreiris similar to the way it is by the Keren, when there's a Tam and there's a Mu'et, or not? So why is Rav asking this shaila? We could answer it right over here. According to the Rabbanan, Ein Hadol Etzreiris. Rabbanan say even after 3 times, you only pay half. And Rabbi Lazar, and if we follow Rabbi Lazar's opinion, yes, Hadol Etzreiris. As you just explained, there is Hadol. You do pay Nezek Shalom over here after 3 times. So we should resolve Rabbi Zibaya from this brisa. So the Gemara says, no, you can't prove it because we can say the pshat that we said before. Amalach Rava will tell you. Kimi boya lilididi. When did I have this iboya? Whether after 3 times the payment of tzreiris changes from chatzi nezek to nezek shalem, I'll leave it to Rabbanan. That was a shaila all only according to the Rabbanan, which say that the first 3 times you pay chatzi nezek. The pligia le the sumchis, they argue on sumchis. Aval hacha, but over here I can tell you as follows. Bein leRabbanon, bein leRabbi Lazar, kesumches viraluhu. Maybe in this braise, both the Rabbanon and Rabbi Lazar, regarding the halacha of tzreiris, they agree to Rabbi Lazar that you pay nezek shalom. For tzreiris, you pay nezek shalom even the first time. So what is the argument over here in this case? Again, the kesumches viralu, the ama tzreiris nezek shalom mishalem, that you pay nezek shalom from the first time. Why did Rabbanan in this brisa, when this dog took the coal and placed it on this godish and damaged it and burnt it, why do the Rabbanan here say that you pay nezek shalem? So this is like the pshat that we said before already. The shani, because over here, the way the dog brought the coal to the godish, it did it in an unusual manner. So it took it in its mouth, let's say. So therefore, this is really only a told of keren. And v'lo yayid. And it did not, there was no yid, meaning it did not happen 3 times. And that's the argument over here. If this damage was done in the rishus of the nizik, whether you pay nezek shalom or chatzi nezek, this is the same pshat that the Gemara suggested before in Amar Aleph, which is a beplukte, the Rab Tarfin, v'Rabbanan kamiflagi. They're arguing when you damage in a toilda of keren, and it's not in the rishus of Rabbim, but it's in the rishus of the nizik, do you pay chatzi nezek or nezek shalom? That's the machlokes of Rab Tarfin and the Rabbanan. But the Gemara asks on this pshat, aim with the shamet Rab Tarfin nezek shalom migufay. Again, aim with the shamet Rab Tarfin nezek shalom. Rab Tarfin, he holds that you pay in the rishus of the nizik, you pay nezek shalom. It's different than when it happens in the Rishus HaRabim. Over there, you only pay Chatzi Nezek. When it happens in the Rishus of the Nizik, over here, Rab Tarfin says you will have to pay Nezek Shalom. Okay, so that could explain the opinion of Rabbi Lazar, why you would pay Nezek Shalom. But the question, though, is, Megufay mishametle. But do you have to pay this only from the body of the dog itself that did this damage? This is the question that we were speaking about before in Amar Aleph. Here the Gemara addresses it. How would you explain why, according to Rabbi Lazar, do you pay only from the body of the dog itself? So the Gemara says, Rabbi Elazar holds like Rab Tarfon, and according to Rab Tarfon's opinion, so you take a pay nezek shalem, but the collection of the payment still only comes from the body of the animal itself. So the Gemara asks, the Gemara explains actually, the Gemara explains, what's the source of Rab Tarfon? From where does Rab Tarfon say that you know this halacha, that when the damage of keren, even though it's a tam, it happened in the Rishus of the Nizik, how do you know that you pay nezek shalem? Mirishus harabim. You learn it out from Rishus harabim. This is a kal v'chaimer. The Gemara is going to explain later this kal v'chaimer, that you make this kal v'chaimer from the Rishus harabim to the Rishus hanizik. What's the kal v'chaimer? The tam in the Rishus harabim pays for the damage that it causes, even though Rishus harabim is a place which is more lenient for the damages of a behemoth. Why is it more lenient? Because for shein v'regel you potter there. So in the Rishus HaNizik, where you see the Torah is more machmir, because for shein v'regel you have to pay for the damages, for sure, for the tam you should have to pay more as well. And therefore you pay nezek shalim. That was the source of Rab Tarfon's opinion. You learn it out from the payment of keren in the Rishus harabim. So if we're learning it out from the payment of keren in the Rishus harabim with this kal v'chaimer, so therefore I say, dayoy lebamen adin liyas kinidin. The rule is, whatever you learn out from a source, from a kal v'chaimer, so over here, Rab Tarfon is learning out the payment of keren in the Rishus hanizik, which is nezek shalim, from the payment of keren in the Rishus harabim, just like the payment of keren in the Rishus harabim, you pay me gufay. The payment in the Rishus HaNizik is also migufay. So therefore, this Rab Tarfon's opinion over here is the opinion of Rabbi Elazar, that in the Rishus HaNizik you pay nezek shalem, but it's still migufay. You only collect it from the body of the dog itself in this case. But the Gemara asks on this, how could you say that this is true according to Rab Tarfon? We know the rule Rab Tarfon holds when it comes to a kal v'chaimer, you do not say daya, meaning you do not stop and limit what you could learn out from a kal v'chaimer. The concept of daya usually means you could never learn out with a kal v'chaimer more than the source of where your kal v'chaimer comes from. So over here, you're learning keren in the Rishus of the Nizik from the keren in the Rishus harabim, but you're not going to say that keren in the Rishus harabim cannot be chayiv more than the source of the keren in the Rishus harabim. It doesn't work that way. According to Rab Tarfon, you don't say such a concept of daya. So that's actually true right over here. In this case, what's the kal v'chaimer that Rab Tarfon is learning out? Rab Tarfon is telling you that keren in the Rishus harabim pays chatzi nezek, and from that we learn a kal v'chaimer that keren in the Rishus of the Nizik you pay nezek shalim. The kal v'chaimer is teaching you that keren in the Rishus HaNizik actually pays more than the keren in the Rishus harabim. So, and Rab Tarfon holds you cannot say daya. Whenever you have a kal v'chaimer, and if the whole kal v'chaimer will be refuted by saying daya, you don't say daya. That's the whole chiddush of the koyach of a kal v'chaimer, that you can show the stringency of an animal damaging in the Rishus HaNizik, that it's even more than it damages in the Rishus harabim, and you pay even more than the source of where your kal v'chaimer was from. Says the Gemara, ki lesle dayoy, when does Rab Tarfon hold that you don't apply this concept of dayoy, that you can't learn out more than what the source has? Heiche de mifrach kal v'chaimer. If by you saying dayoy, then the whole kal v'chaimer is pointless, then Rab Tarfon holds that this is one of the, it's a midah b'Torah, this is a chiddush that the Torah says, you can learn out even a bigger stringency than the source itself has. And that's regarding, over here in our case, that's regarding the payment of nezek shalim. But regarding this detail of whether you pay migufay or you pay min aliyah, so regarding this additional detail, even if you're going to say dayai, that we're not going to pay more than what the original source has, it's not going to refute the kal v'chaimer. It's like dayai. In this case, he does hold dayai. So yeah, we learn out keren b'rishus hanizik from keren b'rishus harabim. Regarding the payment of nezek shalem, we do not apply the rule of dayai. And we say that in rishus hanizik, it actually pays more than it pays in the rishus harabim, because otherwise there's no stringency that you can learn out from this kal v'chaimer. But regarding the quality of the payment, whether you pay migufay or you pay min aliyah, for that we apply the rule of dayai, and we say that you only pay like what you pay in the rishus harabim, which is only migufay. Taisus over here addresses that the Gemara is not clear, because maybe you should say it's the other way around. Maybe you should say regarding the megufa you should apply maybe regarding the megufa you should not apply dayai, and maybe regarding the payment of nezek shalim you should apply dayai. Maybe you should say it the other way around. Taisus says it's more mistaver to say that the quality of the payment remains the same, but the amount of payment, that's the stringency that you learn out, that it's more than what it is in the Rishus Rabbim. Okay, the Gemara over here, the Ibaya that the Gemara asked, whether you pay Migufay, whether you by Tzroides, the Gemara did not resolve this Ibaya either. Now the Gemara will discuss the third Ibaya that it brought up regarding Tzroides. This is all Rava. Rava is asking different Ibayas over here regarding the halacha of Tzroides. When you have the special halacha l'meishim misinai, that Tzroides is different, and you only pay Chatzi Nezek. So Rava has a bunch of Ibayas about this. Here's the third Ibaya of Rava about this. So Gufe, let's bring back the Ibaya we mentioned before that Rava said, Rava asked the Shaila, Yesh, Hadal, Tzroides, when the animal kicks pebbles and it damages, and it happened after 3 times, do I say that now it does pay Nezek Shalem? Or it does not pay Nezek Shalem even after 3 times? Lekeren midamin lei. Do I compare Tzroides to Keren, and therefore after 3 times you pay Nezek Shalem? Or do I say no, that Tzroides is just a tilde of Regel, and by Regel, as many times as you do it, the payment remains the same. So according to the Rabbanon, which is Chatzi Nezek, the payment remains the same, it doesn't change. So again, the Gemara begins with the same Braisa that we quoted before. Toshema, the Braisa says, Hidus eina muad. A chicken jumping around, it's not muad for this. It's not usual. Another opinion says, Hareza muad, this is usual for the chicken to do. So the Gemara asks, what are we talking about over here? Hidus lakadaitach, we're discussing a chicken jumping around, whether that's usual or not. Obviously, it's usual for the chicken to do this. Elo hidus vehitis. The chicken jumped around and a pebble flew out and was mazik. So this is a case of tzroides. My love, so don't you think going to ovet zimni? The machlekes in this brayso, whether it's a muad or not, is because it did it 3 times. And the argument over here is mar savar yeshada. So the mandama that says that it's a muad, what it's saying is after it did it 3 times, it becomes a muad and you pay nezek shalem. Mar savar einada. The other opinion says no, even after it did it 3 times, it does not become a muad and you still pay chatzi nezek. So the Gemara again says the same thing as it said before. No, b'chad zimne. This is a case where it only did it once. But ubeplukte the sumchas v'rabbanan kamiflagi. The argument in this brayse is the basic argument of tzroides, whether you pay chatzi nezek or you pay nezek shalim. Tashema, the Gemara brings a raya from another brayse. Beheme shehitilo glolim leisa. A beheme, so it relieves itself, and this glolim that comes out from the animal went on a dough and it damaged and it ruined this dough. Rav Yehuda says, Mishalem Nezek Shalem, that you pay full pay for this. Rabbi Laza says, Chatzi Nezek, that you pay for this only half a pay. Rashi over here points out that this Rav Yehuda and Rabbi Lazar are not Tanoim. This is a machlokes between Amirayim. This is Rav Yehuda, which was an Amayra, and Rabbi Lazar, which is Rabbi Lazar ben Pedos, which was an Amayra. That's Rashi's pshat over here. Okay, so what do we see? What's the explanation for this machlokes over here? So my love, don't you think? What are they arguing about? Kagoin da'avet losasimne, that this behemoth, the glolim came out of the animal and it damaged the dough. This happened 3 times. And the argument whether you pay half a payment or full payment is as follows. Now the Gemara understands that this is a regular case of tzroides. Why? Because the animal is not damaging the dough directly with its body. It's only damaging it with the glolim that come out of its body. So what are they arguing about? Mar savar yeshado. So the opinion that says, the Rav Yehuda that says you pay nezek shalim is because it happened 3 times. Or mar savar einado. And Rabbi Lazar says no, that even by tzroides, after 3 times, there's no adah, you still pay chatzi nezek. Says the Gemara loy, that's not the explanation of their argument. B'chad zimne is the first time that happened, but ubeplukte the sumchas v'rabbanan kamiflagi. Rav Yehuda and Rabbi Lazar are arguing the machlekes of Rav Yehuda of sumchas and the rabbanan, that is whether you pay chatzi nezek or you pay nezek shalim. Same machlekes of sumchas and the rabbanan. So over here it comes out that Rabbi Lazar that says that you pay chatzi nezek goes according to the Rabbanon, right? And Rabbi Yehuda goes according to Sumchis. So therefore Rashi says this Rabbi Lazar cannot be Rabbi Lazar, which is a Tana, because in Amar Aleph we were discussing Rabbi Lazar, and over there it says that Rabbi Lazar holds like Sumchis, and over here we're saying he holds like the Rabbanon. So therefore Rashi says this is Rabbi Lazar, which is an Amayra. But the Gemara asks on this pshat, how could you say that this case of the behemoth relieving itself in a place where there's dough and it ruins it, that this is the machlekes about tzroides? But the animal to go and relieve itself in such a place where there's dough over there and to damage the dough, this is a very unusual behavior for the animal. If so, this is not a regular case of tzroides. This is should be a tilde of keren, and everybody should agree that you pay chatzi nezek. And says the Gemara, the dochik le alma, that it is usual for the animal because the animal was cornered in a certain spot where it couldn't move out of its position, and therefore it relieved itself over there where the dough is, and therefore it is a normal behavior for the animal. But the Gemara asks, if this is the explanation of their machlokes, the lamed Rav Yehuda halacha kesumchis, why wouldn't Rav Yehuda just clearly say that I paskin like sumchis? Ever lamed Rabbi Lazar halacha kerabanan. And Rabbi Lazar say that I paskin like the Rabbanan. Why are they bringing their machlokes in this specific case of the animal relieving itself on the dough? Says the Gemara, no, because this case is actually not exactly the same as tzreitis. Why not? Golalim, there is a chiddush regarding the case of golalim, because I would think to say, the golalim that come out of the body of the animal is not like tzreitis. Tzreitis are pebbles that the animal kicks. But over here, the golalim was formed in the body of the animal, and it's coming out of the body of the animal. I would think maybe it's just like the body of the animal. Kamash Malon, so therefore it has to say over here that regarding tzreitis in this case that it is similar to tzreitis, and therefore there's a machlokes whether it's chatzi nezek or nezek shalim. Okay, just to finish off with one more point, Rashi over here says that what's also unique about this case is that when the animal relieves itself, it's really a toil. It seems like it would be a toil of shame, not a toil of regel. Till now, we had the concept of chatzi nezek tzreitis as a toil of regel, but over here, when the animal relieves itself, what is it doing? It's not trampling or kicking, but it's relieving itself, which is with hana. That's a toilda of shame, which when an animal does something which gives it hana. So Rashi says, either Rashi says that the animal is relieving itself in a way where there's no hana, it's possible that it should be without hana, or Rashi says anytime there's it happens in an oifen of tzreitis, it's not going to be a toilda of shame. Even if it's with hana, it's a toilda of regel, and you pay chatzi nezek. Okay.